So what are you up to this summer, Rini?
Lots of traveling.
Hmm.
I love going to visit other places and checking out new local spots.
Yeah.
So summer is the best time to do that.
Of course.
Winter makes me cranky, so I'm in my happy time.
Is there any spot in particular that you're looking forward to get to the most?
We're headed to Banff this year.
Oh, cool.
End of July. I'm really excited. We're booking all the things already. A little canoe trip there, and so I'm really excited for that.
That's awesome. I think I might be stopping by there this summer. Me and
nice.
one of my friends are planning on going on a Alaska road trip, so if it's on the way, might as well stop by.
Might as well.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the Pulse Neighbors. I'm Julius Clark, your local Indianapolis Realtor. Today I am joined with Rini and Mike from Parkin Mortgage. How are you guys?
Doing well. How are
Excellent.
you?
Great. Can we start off just with both of you guys giving a little introduction on who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Rini. I am a loan officer at Parkin Mortgage. I've been in the mortgage industry about 12 years, and I love to help people get into their dream homes.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I am Mike Parkin, one of the owners and founders of Parkin Mortgage in Noblesville. I've been doing this for 23 years now, and been doing the entrepreneur thing for most of my life.
It's a great life being an entrepreneur. It's not always easy, but
Yeah,
you
I
have
wouldn't have it
control.
any other way. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely more exciting.
Yeah. So I'll start off with you, Renee, and then Mike, if you've got anything you want to throw in there about your journey to real estate, feel free. But Renee, where were you before real estate?
I was a student. I've always been even when I was a kid, I had a little padfolio with my drawings of cutouts of homes and different parts and how I would build a home. And I always wanted to build homes. So I was in construction, and then I switched to mortgages. So I went from building homes to helping people finance their homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you get into building homes right out of being a student?
I always wanted to be in either architecture or construction.
Okay.
I don't know a life before wanting to be there.
So you just knew you wanted to do it and
Yeah.
you went and did it?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I got my degree at IUPUI. I have a construction management degree, bachelor's, and then associates in architectural technology. So I got to draft, I got to play build, and then I started in multifamily and then worked my way up the chain there, and then 2008 happened, and I've ended up finding a home in the mortgage industry not too long after that.
Good.
Yeah, doing renovation loans.
Yeah, people often, Mike's been in the same spot or doing the same thing for a long time, but people usually flip-flop from one part of the industry to the other a couple of times throughout their journey, so it's always good to hear.
I've been around the industry quite a bit. But,
I thought you were in mortgages.
I haven't deviated from mortgages, but I've been everything from a loan officer to a branch manager to an account rep to a recruiter, development trainer, and for the last 13 years we've been all of those things built into owning my own mortgage company. So.
Yeah, I didn't think about all the individual roles within that one function. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'll stick to the realtor side of things for now.
You don't want to join us in the dark side? That's what I was told when I first started.
I think this is the bright side.
Bright side, okay.
I think you'd have people on both sides of that argument.
Yeah,
besides the
definitely.
price.
Definitely. That was just a joke.
But you said that you were always kind of interested in getting into real estate. It was a passion for you. What was it like actually stepping in? Did you have expectations set for what real estate was going to be like?
Not really. I came in with an open mind, and I'm really glad I did, because I was able to take in everything and absorb and learn and get better. And I joke that how they say to help prevent Alzheimer's, you have to make your brain work in different ways. And I feel like this industry, you're always learning something new, you're always doing something new. And even though I've been in it 12 years, there's something that I come across that I didn't in the last 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that helps, having an open mind, not having a preconceived notions, to be able to just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah. That's great advice. I can definitely think of some examples where I've already had expectations set for how something or someone was going to operate, and it wasn't met, and would have been a lot easier if I just went into it and did it. No expectations.
Yeah.
That's good advice. That's really good advice. Like you said, you've made a couple of different moves throughout real estate in your time. When did you make switches, and like specifically from building homes to loans, and what was that timeline? And if you could elaborate on the cause or reason you made the switch within real estate.
Okay. So I was an intern at Flaherty and Collins Construction. I was still in school when I was there. They are a multifamily company. They build apartment buildings. Fun fact, I worked a little bit on the Cosmopolitan at the Canal, and Cumberland Point Apartments, and the Boulevard at Anson. So I worked a little bit on all of them.
Yeah.
And I worked up the chain there, and then 2008 happened where a lot of people were laid off, and I was one of them. My last position there was quality assurance manager. So I started with an intern, and I was a quality assurance manager at the end of it. And then I was getting married right around the corner, so I just took a little bit of time off, and that turned into more time off than I was thinking. And I ended up applying for a job that I thought was in construction. And it happened to be doing renovation loans. And that was new, and it intrigued me. And with my open mind, I walked in, and I was like, I can do this. And it worked out in my favor because I was able to kind of guide people. Most homeowners or most buyers don't know construction, and most contractors don't know the mortgage side of things. So I was able to hold hands on each side and help guide people through. So my stepping into the mortgage industry was renovation loans.
Okay.
And then after that, 2022 happened, and my change, I wanted to be more in control of my career, so I switched to origination because I was really good at guiding people and helping people and holding their hands to get to the finish line, and I could do it at this capacity.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
It's awesome that you've been able to serve in different functions throughout the industry. It makes you pretty valuable as somebody on anybody's team, really.
I think so. Mike, would you say?
Yeah. A lot of good perspective that way.
Yeah, it's something that's, I have ADHD, and it is a blessing and a curse to be a
100%.
jack of all trades. Now that I know that I'm having a kid, I'm trying to combat my ADHD aggressively so I can get focused and really in tune with a couple of things.
Let me know the words out for you. I'm fighting mine every day.
I don't know. I'm making a lot of planned actions to help me with combat that now, but I'm trying to be done being a jack of all trades. We're getting out of property management, which is the ideal. If you're a jack of all trades, go be a property manager. You're going to do any and everything always. It's crazy. You might not have to do a whole bunch of back-end stuff, but property management is a very, very diverse field. But you get experience that way if you're a jack of all trades.
Definitely.
So now, through your journey in real estate, you're where you're at now with Parker Mortgage. You've learned everything you've been able to learn from different positions in the industry. We just established that helps and makes you more valuable. How happy, or what are your thoughts on where you are now and where you see it going?
I am incredibly happy at Parker Mortgage. It is so wonderful to be at a place that treats everyone like everyone's individuality is celebrated. Everyone here is different, but we all are very cohesive. It's nice to feel like a person and not a number. Sometimes in big companies or companies that have been around forever, you're there, you do your job, you leave, but that's not how it is here. So and they pour into everyone. I feel so blessed to be there, and I'm really happy. So I don't really have any plans on leaving. And I'm not just saying that because Mike is here.
He raises an eyebrow. Yeah.
I would say that without him here as well. I'm
Oh.
pretending he's not here when I say that because I don't want to make him feel awkward. But
I believe you. I believe you. There's no gun to your head.
yeah. Yeah.
Wait. Before we go into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, Mike, anything about your career through real estate, where you're at now, that you'd like to share?
Oh man, mine's been all over the place. So, I don't know. As far as for your listeners here, like, real estate is amazing. It is such a fun industry. I think the average person would look at, I want to do mortgages, and like, gross. Who would want to do mortgages? That's dumb. So, but I mean, if you break any job down, who would want to do that? That's gross. That's boring. Like, pick solve for X. They're all going to be kind of gross.
Yep.
So, really, fundamentally, what we have in real estate, and why I think this is an amazing career opportunity, is a few things. Number one, it really embraces the entrepreneurial spirit. It allows you to bet on yourself, and if you're somebody that wants to bet on yourself, man, it can pay off great. And I love that there's no ceiling on opportunity here. Your destiny is created by you, so that's beautiful. Number two is what we do makes a difference. And sure, I do numbers and stuff. Guys, I took algebra twice in high school. I suck. I'm horrible at math. Math is not my forte. We don't do math. We do people. We solve problems all day long. So really what we do is take very dynamic puzzles that are complicated as people's income and their credit and their career and their houses and all this craziness, and we try to figure out how to make something that fundamentally helps them with what's going to end up being the biggest investment of their life.
Yeah.
That's really fun. And we get really in the trenches and really get to know people and spend a lot of time, and it's not dissimilar from what you do on the real estate side. In being a realtor, really the two of us kind of hold hands and solve problems for these homeowners. But anyway, I think it's a fantastic career, and for someone that's ADD, that has a significant problem with sitting behind a desk all day long, this is awesome, because I get to get up and do stuff and drive all over the place and sit here in the middle of the afternoon on a podcast, and it's not a 9 to 5. You check your brain and go home and watch TV all night. It's a fun life.
That's definitely correct. I've been struggling these past couple of weeks. I have to sit here because joining a new brokerage is all the little things you have to get done before you
the
can.
Administrative side.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. But we're almost there. I think next week we'll, not full capacity, but at least half capacity, get back into real estate, which really is my previous full capacity, because I used to split my time being a property manager. So I'm curious to see in like a month what 100% of my time into being an agent looks like. I've never done it.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Exciting times.
Well, what I got into real estate for was similar, or not dissimilar, to what you said about helping people buy their home. Once I found out that real estate is able to deliver generational wealth, not only for myself, but for anybody that's purchasing it, it's a really cool process to be a part of, to help people that really care about generational wealth and get them their first home.
I'd be lying if I said the money wasn't a big part of why
course.
I got into this world too. Graduated high school in 1997, so I only went to 3 semesters of Ball State University and dropped out. Isn't that how everybody goes to Ball State University? But I got out of there and got straight into doing sales, and from sales it dovetailed into mortgage sales. And I don't know, the ability to write your own future, I think, is huge. But all the way back then, we set goals for ourselves. This is the year 2001. We wanted to make $100,000 a year. How many careers do you know that you can make $100,000 a year at 22 years old without a college degree?
Without a college degree, 0.
And let's adjust that for inflation. Right now, that's about $180,000 for a new college graduate today to say, I want to make $180,000 in the next couple of years. And my wife is ridiculously smart. She actually does mortgages with me. She's our operations manager, and co-owner. And so we were able to accomplish that goal.
Mm-hmm.
So your people that are listening, yes, what we do is beautiful in that it helps people's lives, but it also helps our lives.
Yeah.
And which I think that's fascinating, because the better we are at our jobs, it's kind of like being a financial advisor. The better you are at your job, yes, people are going to give you dollars,
Mm-hmm.
but you're doing great things with those dollars for them, and they are better for having known you.
Mm-hmm.
And the better you are at your job, the better you do for them. And that's such an empowering thing in our world, because there's a lot of sales situations in life that the better you are at selling something, the better you are at taking money from people.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're solving some problem for them, but still it ultimately is more and more profitable. And I don't know. I think that's just such a fun, powerful thing in our world.
That's a wonderful way to look at it.
Yeah.
The better you are, the better position your client is in, and yeah.
So one of my little life mottos is I just want everybody to, whether we end on a high note or a low note, I want you to have been better for having known me.
Yeah.
What stuck out to me there was you could be a tremendous employee. I can't think of a specific job off the top of my head, but you can be a tremendous employee, an HR manager. You can be a great employee, everybody loves you, but your pay isn't dependent on the performance of your job necessarily. There's a pretty big cap, but you're not able to go and exceed past that. But in real estate, if you help somebody tremendously, you can get tremendous outcomes as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's how business should be.
Absolutely.
You should get rewarded for your effort. Everything should be merit-based.
Yeah, we've hired people in the past that one of the reasons they were leaving their current career was because they were the high achiever in their department.
Mm-hmm.
And how they got rewarded for being the high achiever
More
was
work.
to take more work.
More work.
Without the compensation for it.
Hey.
And
Guess who was one of those people?
Yeah.
Me.
You get sick if you're
Uh-huh.
a great producer. You get sick of that. If you don't get rewarded and get the value that you deserve, it doesn't work. That's why a lot of these big companies. There's a lot of people that want to become agents and loan officers now because they do see the untapped potential, or not even that, like drop shipping. Everybody's drop shipping nowadays.
Right. Yeah, everybody is.
Which isn't quite the same thing, but it's entrepreneurial. Sweet. So into our actual podcast today, we've got a couple of topics. We're going to start off with Indianapolis, get into the importance of a mortgage, and then wrap up with renovation loans.
Sounds like a plan.
So what do you know about Indianapolis?
It's a great city to be in. It is so affordable for how big we are. We're the 17th largest city, and we're incredibly affordable, and we're always growing. And if you look, if you take a 5 year, 5 years ago, 5 years before that, we just keep getting more businesses, we keep getting more diverse, and the affordability is still there.
Number 4 by Zillow, ranked number 4.
Yeah. There's a reason why people keep trying to come here for investment properties.
Yep.
It's an incredible market, and it's that's one of the I wanted to leave Indianapolis for a very long time actually, but it was hard to leave knowing how affordable life is over here.
Mm-hmm.
And I just travel more to make up for it.
Yeah.
I just needed more sun, so lots of sun travels in the winter.
People here that live in Indiana, not everybody, but people in our industry that I operate with on the regular basis, don't take Indiana for a grain of salt. They understand that we're in the middle of the U.S. and there's not a lot around us, but the affordability does allow you that travel option. Mm-hmm. And I almost like that more than living where the travel destination is. I don't want to live in Denver. I'd hate mountains if I lived in Denver.
Yeah.
I'd get sick of them. But if I get to see them infrequently a couple times a year, then I can really appreciate it. So
Right.
Indiana is where you live and you work, but you can go play wherever you want.
Exactly.
I don't think you get tired of the view in Banff, though.
Yeah.
True.
I went to.
I'm so excited.
Have you been to? Man, I can't even think of the name of it. It's a national park up in Washington State.
Glacier?
I don't even recall.
Have
Oh, it was Rainier,
Rainier.
or whatever the mountain range. The mountain range has its own national park,
Yeah.
but there's thousands of trails. You could live there for 20 years and only hit 20% of the trails.
That's wild.
Not everyone's
That's so
like
cool
that.
and scary.
Mm-hmm. They are scary. Nobody's gonna ever find you if you get lost out there.
Yeah.
Kind of on two coins, people you work with and just general what you know about Indiana. What type of opportunities here? What occupation do people have around Indiana? Obviously, there's every job, but who do you interact with or
so
stick
much
out to
fun
you?
stuff happening right now in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like we would be, but we're becoming quite the tech hub. There's a lot of stuff going on, especially in Fishers. I think it's Launch Fishers or Spark Fishers, or maybe both of those. It's basically an incubator for future tech companies. What's the one, High Alpha, that's downtown, that's basically a venture capital firm that's helping seed all kinds of tech startups. You have the whole Purdue life sciences campus that's massive. And then, the big major employers around here with Allison and Lilly and Cummins and Roche. These are all massive things, but I think by and large, our clients are everyday people.
Yeah.
So, you do get a lot of like relocation type teams and stuff with those larger employers that are a draw. But, I think Indiana historically has been a blue collar community that is, over the last 25 years, really done a good job at pivoting into being more white collar. Lots and lots of, I think there's lots of opportunity, but what I think is really interesting is that Indianapolis is one of the largest cities to still fall into, up until recently, the very low cost of living, a VCOL area. Now it's just a low cost of living area.
Mm-hmm.
So we have had really, really strong property appreciation over the last 5 years, but really, even with that sharp incline, so everybody in Indiana that has heartburn over house prices, like, man, we're still, even with this jump, easier to buy as a first-time home buyer than almost every other major market in America. So it's kind of fun.
It is kind of fun. Thanks for sharing. Are there any other recent trends about Indianapolis that you think are worth noting?
Construction. If you work for the highway department, this is the place to be.
Clearly.
I kid, but
you'll be employed for 3 years.
Right. And then again.
Yeah, we'll tear all that out. We'll do it again.
I swear, I moved to Fishers 15 years ago, and I don't know a time when 69 was not under construction.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 15 years now.
Well, I've lived on Michigan Road for a year, and they've repaved it twice.
Yeah.
Yep, that's normal.
I mean, the construction companies are booming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that said, I just got back from Seoul, South Korea, right? And so there's a very interesting thing in Seoul, or in South Korea in general, is they have a very finite and small amount of buildable land, because the hills there are very steep. They're like little gumdrop hills, mountains all over the place, and so you can only build in the cracks in between in the valleys, and so urban sprawl isn't a thing there. They build up.
Urban height.
Yeah, it's urban height. Indiana, what we have really strongly going for us and against us is really dirt cheap land. We are not bound by any lakes, rivers, streams, oceans, nothing. So we can spread in every direction. I think it's always interesting when people fly in for the Super Bowl, their Indy 500, all this. I always hear people that have never been to Indy. They're like, "We're in the middle of town and there are woods here. How is that a thing? How is there a forest and a park and all of this that feels rural and we're on 465? Like, what is going on?" In Korea, it's nothing to have a 60-story building looking out literally over rice paddies. Like, the edge of the city is the edge, and there is 3 buildings of urban sprawl. And here, Indianapolis's square footage is...
It's one of the largest cities by land mass.
Massive. So that kind of harkens you back to your last question also, is there are a lot of opportunities for construction, for building, for... we can throw up houses pretty cheap here as compared to most other major markets because the cost of the dirt is so cheap.
On the real estate investing side, one of the trends that I've been seeing around Indianapolis is the uptick in midterm rentals here. Obviously, we know that there's a couple hospitals here that are getting a big boost, and there's going to be a lot of travel nurses coming. Now, that is a short-term trend in a lot of investors' minds. They say, okay, travel nurses, well, they're going to get real nurses or instituted nurses there eventually after 3-4 years. Like Parkin's well into construction. The second most common utilized or tenants for midterm units is construction workers.
Mm-hmm.
You think construction's going away in Indianapolis anytime soon?
Yep.
No.
No.
Not a chance. I think the last report that I read said it's going to take almost 15 years for this market to reach equilibrium. So,
And there'll be new stats out by then, and they'll say 15
Yeah.
years after that.
yep.
I feel we've always needed more homes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've only been in the industry for a year, but every time I read anything from 20 years ago, they're saying we need more homes.
And parking.
Yep.
Homes and parking. It's always been our challenge.
It's always the case. Well, that's it on Indianapolis. Well, not it. I'll do one more thing. If you're going to live in Indiana, or you already live in Indiana, you probably already know the roads here suck. I joke about them all the time. My advice to you, this is jokingly, get an SUV or a truck. Don't ever have to think about it. I drive a Tacoma and I can drive over whatever I want.
All right.
Doesn't
so
matter.
Here's your sidebar for the day. I drive just a Tesla. It's nothing interesting. It's like a sewing machine with tires. But I have a ground effects kit thing on it to make it look less like a grandma car.
Mhm.
And I hit a pothole in the middle of 86th Street that was deep enough that my front bumper hit the road and broke my ground effects off.
Ugh.
Oh.
So that's how bad our roads are.
Yes. You want 6 inches of clearance. If you're gonna be
Minimum.
My CRV drives just fine.
Yeah, exactly. Any 4-wheel drive car, amazing. Moving on, after Indiana, we've established Indiana is a great spot. We've got affordability. We've got tons of square footage we're not utilizing. And I don't remember the stat, but we're one of the top cities for green spaces. It's top 10 approximately. So great things we got going on in Indiana. Next up, the importance of a mortgage, pretty broadly here. I think you guys did mention that your most common client is just the everyday person, and that's really who the 30-year mortgage was kind of instituted for and made for, help the average person be able to buy a house. So broadly, why are mortgages important?
I'll talk about a little bit of my childhood. I came from India, and my memories are you had to have all of the funds to be able to buy a house. You didn't really get a mortgage. You may borrow from a friend or a family member, but you had to pay it back faster. So there was no such thing as a mortgage. So you had all these families that it took lifetime before being able to own a home. And a mortgage allows you to be a homeowner faster. You can pay more towards your mortgage than your monthly payment so you're not, there's no prepayment penalty in a sense, when you do a typical 30-year mortgage, so you could own it faster. But the beautiful thing about it is you can become a homeowner faster. You can start building on that wealth faster. And your equity in your home is essentially a savings account if you use it. Or not, it can still stay there. So that's the beautiful thing about mortgages, I think, is it allows you to become a homeowner faster and build generational wealth.
I guess I'll second that with the importance of being a homeowner. I always look at it as the difference. It is the difference between renting and paying off a mortgage. When you're renting, you are paying off equity or debt.
Someone else's.
Debt and getting equity, but yeah, somebody else's. But you have a home, you're paying off a mortgage payment. It's pretty much just rent, but you get to keep it in 30 years or whenever you sell the house.
What's that mean? Like when you're renting, your interest rate is 100%?
So if you think about the average investor that calls us that wants to buy a rental property, kind of the rule of thumb is we need that house to rent for 120% of the mortgage. So not only are you're paying a mortgage if you're renting, you're paying a mortgage plus profit. So it's actually even worse than that.
Well,
That's true.
Being on the property management side, we do look, or how we determine rent is we look at market rent. But before we're buying the property, we're looking at the numbers behind where the rent needs to be able to cover the mortgage, insurance, the management fee. You need to save up a little bit for CapEx here and there. And yes, property owners are putting that on their tenant.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. They're not covering that out of pocket.
Yeah, it is what they're planning
It's not
to
a
do.
benevolent venture. So.
No, there's not. It's interesting. I currently rent and I despise it, but it's a necessary evil in certain parts of life.
Well, renting is not evil. Renting is not bad. There is absolutely a time and place for it.
Yeah.
We strongly want to encourage people to be an owner, to take control of your own destiny. Obviously, I own a mortgage company, so I'm slightly bent towards you should probably get a mortgage. But I can tell you, there's been no greater lever to pull in my life than being able to own real estate. It has outperformed our 401ks by a massive margin. Some of that was dumb luck. Some of that is buying in the right neighborhood. Some of that is the market over the last few years. But even if we take the last few years out, still it has performed amazingly well. I didn't also mention earlier, my background also for about 2.5 years was a financial advisor. So I had all my investment licenses in 6 and 63 and 7 and 66 and all that stuff. And when you think about it this way, if you want to go invest in, pick your commodity, gold. How many dollars do you have to spend to buy $100,000 worth of gold?
More than
$100,000.
Yeah.
That means gold just got, I guess you're going $100,000 of it, you got to give me $100,000. Done. I'll give you gold.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to buy a $100,000 house, how much do you have to put down?
Depends. Primary residence, minimum of 3%. If you're investing, 15 to 25%, depending on product.
So would it blow your mind to say that zero, that we could actually help you buy a house with nothing down? So $0 in a lot of circumstances, especially first-time homebuyers, $0 out of pocket, and you can have the $100,000 worth of gold.
Mm.
It's called a house, but it's still going to appreciate. And theoretically, you put nothing into an asset that's appreciating 5%, 7% per year.
Mm.
The last few years, 10, 12, 20%. But it gets to perform for you, even though you didn't buy the whole thing.
Mm.
You bought just a wee little bit of it. Sure, you had interest that's going to erode that a little bit, but typically not that much, especially when I throw in the sunk cost of renting on the back end.
Yep.
So, yeah. I think there's not a whole lot of investments that perform better than holding long-term real estate.
Yep.
Agreed.
That's why I became an agent. I've been telling people a lot this week because I'm getting to know people around the office, but I'm very upfront with anybody I work with in real estate. I became a real estate agent to become a real estate investor. I was looking at where I wanted my life to go, said I want to be an investor, and being an agent was my step to, one, developing the skills I need to be a great investor, and two, acquire the funds I need to be an investor. Yeah. Everything in it for me is about investing. I love helping people, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to develop skills for myself. It's just a benefit that I get to help other people along the way while I do it. Sweet. So we've covered the importance of a mortgage pretty broadly. In those instances where somebody's able to purchase a property with no money down, what are you talking about? I think people hear that and they're like, that's a load of horse.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
USDA loans
Yep.
are incredible at that. We have down payment assistance programs. So there's, depending on your situation, there are a lot of levers we can pull to make that happen. USDA is so underutilized if you're not in the main parts of the city.
Are you familiar with it?
Very broadly, yeah,
So
not as much as I should be.
Cliff's Notes: live outside the city limits of a city of 20,000. So so get out of Noblesville, get out of Fishers, go any of the gaps in between. You can live in downtown LaPel or in Cicero or Pendleton. If you can't tell, we're from the northeast side of town, but Canby's over 20,000 now. But there's a lot of tiny little communities in that area. Shelbyville, that's less than 20,000. So all you got to do is be in a town of less than 20,000 or outside the city limits of a larger town. If you pass that trigger, and a couple of other, you can't be an agricultural property or anything, but the whole point is so many people are moving to the city. that the U.S. Department of Agriculture said, that ultimately that's going to be bad for rural America. And so they set aside some little amounts of dollars to help reduce the barriers to entry for people that want to stay in a rural America. And so what they do is they come in and subsidize what really would be a hefty mortgage insurance premium if you think about if you needed to finance 100% of a normal house in town. You'd have just a pile of mortgage insurance on there. So that's really what's happening is USDA steps in and covers that for you. So you can finance a full 100%. And a lot of times actually with that and veterans, so anybody that's able to qualify for a VA loan, so those will allow for 100% financing there also. But where does that leave our people inside of city limits? Man, so now the state kicks in with the INHP and IHCDA jargon, but those are just a couple of programs that are designed to eliminate and reduce the barriers to entry for people that are first-time home buyers or are step-up home buyers that maybe aren't as affluent. So you'd actually be surprised how lenient those programs are. They're not for poor people, they're just for not rich people. But you can step in with those and qualify for a 3.5% down payment loan. They'll gift you or grant you, or worst case scenario, give you what's called a silent second for that down payment. So Rini here will give you the 97.5%. The state will give you the 3.5%, and the state has no payment due on it, and it's not an interest bearing. It just kind of sits there. And whenever you sell the house, you just give them their chunk of money back. They lend it to you for free anyway, and you give it back to them. They'll hand it to the next guy so they can go buy their first house.
It's a bond with no coupons.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you start talking about house hacking, and it's harder and harder for first-time home buyers to get in the game. Like, houses are appreciating and it's running away from people. So, but what if you bought a duplex and you bought it with a down payment assistance loan? So you get in there with essentially no money down. You're already in an apartment, so don't complain at me about sharing a wall with a neighbor. You go live on one half, let the tenant on the other half pay your mortgage. They'll probably cover 75-80% of your mortgage. And 2 years down the road, move out, go buy another house. You just bought a rental property because there's no rule that you can't start renting that house out now. So you just bought a rental property with next to nothing down, or in this case, literally nothing down. That's amazing. And then also you could cash the equity out of that and roll that into the next house as your down payment for the next one. So now you bought the second house with no money down. And do that every 2, 3, 4 years, and before long you
become a real estate investor just out of nowhere.
You've accidentally become an investor.
That's true. Now, I'm gonna ask a bit of a probing question. I hear even with VA, 0% down, there's funding fees. I know that there are some ways to get those rolled into the loans or decreased. What strategies are there to make that as close to actually 0% down at the closing table as possible for the buyer?
Yeah, on the VA side, I would not encourage you to look into the options to make that decrease or go to zero, because it typically involves a fully disabled vet. So not worth the cost of entry on that one. But yes, there's a funding fee on those. Typically, those funding fees are allowed to be financed in. So what a funding fee is let's say they'll charge you 1.5% of your total loan amount. That is a fee that the VA charges to participate in the program. So if you're buying a $100,000 house, you have a $1,500 fee. They will allow you to finance it in, so you now owe $100,001, $1,150. You know what I'm saying? So then it's just built into the program there, but they get their funding fee, and that's how they go fund the next guys. So that's how it becomes self-perpetuating, and not just one giant pile of money they have to keep putting there every year. And Indiana's also a weird state. Something to think about, that we pay our property taxes in arrears. We're one of few states in the nation that does this.
I thought it was common. That's all I know.
No, one of the few, and it actually comes from a really funny situation. This was, I believe, post-war, 1940s. So many people were behind on their property taxes. And back then, they didn't just send you a tax sale or like take your house for not paying. So there was really not a whole lot of consequences. So people didn't really care, and they just let property taxes build and build and build until finally the state was like, okay, tell you what, let's call it even right now, and you can pay us for last year's. So the entire state collectively took a half step back, agreed to pay in arrears now, and it's never changed back from then. But here's why that's interesting. In Indiana, let's say you buy a house, property taxes here are due in May and in November. If you buy a house in June, then your property taxes are due in November, but they're in arrears, remember? So it means we're paying last year's property taxes. Did you own the house last year?
Nope.
Are you okay with paying that guy's property taxes?
That doesn't sound right.
So they're going to give you a credit because they got a credit from the guy before them, and they got a credit from the guy before them. So they're going to hand you a check at closing to cover the amount of property taxes that should have been accruing all along. So that actually is one strategy that people use often with VA and USDA to be able to offset any small incidental amounts of down payment, closing costs, stuff like that. So I could probably say 20 times in my career I have helped a veteran buy a home, and he actually walked away from the table with a check in hand. So anti-money down.
Yeah.
So his basis on that investment for the rest of forever is negative. It's a negative money, so his rate of return is literal infinity. So
yeah, they don't have a calculator for that one.
Right.
Oh, great. I just want to ask one last question before we go into specifics of renovation loans. I think there's a couple of first-time or step-up buyers that could be listening here. So, last question on here: what does it take to qualify for a loan?
You have to have a job. Minimum 580 credit score. That's about it.
Yep.
Yep.
And then everybody's loan amount just based off of where they work, how much debt they got.
They make, yep, your debt. And I coach them and guide them through that. Once I get an application, I pull a credit report. I can say, okay, what if you did this? What if you did that? So those are very personalized discussions with each client. But that's why when I have my initial call with the clients, I want to know everything. Tell me your wants, tell me your needs. So let's see how we can get you there. It's kind of like when you talk to your doctor, you talk to your lawyer, you tell them everything, and then that's the purpose of my initial discussions with the buyers, is to try to figure out what they want, how we can get them there, and if not now, then 2 months down the road, how does it look like? What if we did it this way? So there's a lot of conversations that happen for qualifying and where they want to qualify at.
I think that shows how people-oriented you are if you're willing to say, hey, you don't qualify now, but let's put this plan together and
Absolutely.
Let's revisit this in a couple of months and see how it's going. Because I know a few people that wouldn't be willing to do that. They're just, are you ready to buy a house? Nope. Go find somebody else is what they'll say.
Yeah.
But I like that for you.
Well, I mean, it's a simple philosophy: treat other people like you want to be treated.
Yeah.
And that helps you treat people correctly at any given time.
I can only imagine how I'd feel if I went into a loan officer anywhere, even my bank, and said, hey, I want to buy a house. And they said, you can't. Bye.
Period.
Bye.
No.
That's kind of the fun part. It's the puzzle we get to put together. Let me gather all the pieces. Let me see how it fits. And if you want this thing, okay, how do we figure out to get there? Yeah, it's a game.
Yeah. I think it's fun that one of our mottos is it's never a no. It might be a not yet, but it's never a no. Because if you call me and you want something that you currently can't do, no big deal. Just go do this, this, and this. That might be up to and including go get a new job that pays you more, or go save more money. But there's almost always this overlay of time that can solve almost anything with the right strategy and the right plan. I think the danger is that bank or that realtor or whoever that's just like, go away, kid, you're bothering me, and they don't give you the knowledge to be able to get better.
Those people are how people get better. You're willing to extend a hand to help society, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Moving on from broadly talking about mortgages, let's talk about something you told me you were excited to talk about today.
Yes.
Renovation loans. What are they?
They are anything you want them to be. Do you want an addition? Do you want a pool? Do you want all new carpet, a completely different layout? Do you want a total gut rehab, knock the whole thing down, maybe keep a wall and the foundation and completely build new? So they're what you want them to be. A lot of people want homes in certain areas, but they want the newer styles and the newer features, or a first floor master, and that can all be achieved with a renovation loan.
Yeah.
So I've had some that are just basic paint, carpet, roof, to additions, to taking a ranch to a 2-story. So I've done all the fun stuff. And on a FHA and a conventional, you can go from a 1-unit to a 4-unit property, or from a 4-unit back to a 1-unit property and make it one giant home. So it is what your imagination lets it to be.
When would I use a renovation loan? Before, after purchasing a property? Does it matter?
It does not. You could do it as a purchase. You could do it as a refinance. There are people who are not as decisive, and they need more time, and your seller may not grant you that time. So in that case, it might be better to get into that home, buy it regular, take your time, and figure out what renovations you would want to do, and then do a renovation loan. Or you know what you want. You know how it is. You can do a renovation loan with the purchase.
Great. Is there anything that I can't use a renovation loan for? What limitations are there?
I mean, you can't get curtains. You can't get a pool table. Those aren't true renovations, so it has to be attached to the property. Now, if you want to build an amazing backyard with all this hardscape and the outdoor kitchen and all that, yeah, you can still use a renovation loan to do that. Pools, yep, you can do a renovation loan to put a pool in. So it's more, as long as it's attached and brings value to the property, you can do it.
Okay. What are the steps I would need to take to qualify for one of those?
It's just the same as any other loans. A couple of things to keep in mind is, if you do want that, we will need more time on a purchase. We will need more time. So those purchase contracts would need to be 45 to 60 days. I have closed a renovation loan in 10 business days. That's because that's how good I am. That was pre-trib, but it's a relay race. We can move as fast or as slow as the people participating. So you need your buyer to be on board with what they want, which contractor they want to use. Your contractor needs to be on board with submitting the documents that they need. And again, I would coach them through these things, so it wouldn't be something they have to figure out on their own. And then everything else is the same.
How's the process different? Is there an appraisal involved?
So the appraisal on a renovation loan doesn't happen until we have the final bid.
Okay.
And final plans and specs.
Okay.
Plans and specs are needed if you are doing an addition, if you are drastically changing the layout, changing the bedroom bathroom count, those things would require plans and specs, so that, because the appraiser needs that to be able to assess the after repairs value. So we actually lend on the after repairs value of the home, the future value of the home.
That's really where those things are magic, because you're able to borrow and do all of this work off of what it will be worth, not what it's worth today. So if you think about an average investor or somebody that's buying a distressed property, historically you need to go buy the house, put 20% down to buy the house, then come out of pocket for, say, $50,000 worth of renovations. And so all in, you got a bunch of money laid out there. With the hope that the house is worth more at the end, and then you can refinance it or sell it and get your money back. So what Rini's solving here for you is, we'll go ahead and lend you that, before it exists, because we all know that it will be worth more. How do we prove that it's going to be worth more? We're going to appraise the house 2 different ways today. Number one is, what are you buying it for? What's the purchase price? Is it worth at least that? What's its as-is value? And then subject to all of the repairs and adjustments that you're going to make to the house, how much will it be worth? And we'll pretend it's worth that already.
Mhm.
So 3.5% down of that final value, or 5% depending on the program. So for very little down of just that one, and you're not out of pocket any of the repairs and any of the contractor junk and all the escrows and the disbursements and running to Lowe's and all the nightmare. You don't have to mess with any of it.
Mhm.
So we've got you on all of it.
And another beautiful thing is your contractor does not get paid all the money up front. So it's not like, hey,
Y'all, that
you
is
pay
important.
them.
I'm in the middle of contractor nightmare hell right now, and I just got done with an 18-month renovation to the studs of an old farmhouse. And he didn't finish everything, and the work that he did was shoddy. We had a bust pipe before I even took possession of the house, and with this type of loan, that guy's not getting paid. He has a financial incentive to stay until it's done.
And do it correctly.
If you ever think about this, your average contractor, I mean, not to slam contractors, there are fantastic ones. There are a lot of really bad ones. So fair, there's some good ones. So if you're a good one and you're listening, don't get your cockles all in a.
You know who you
raised.
are.
Yeah, you know. And you also know who is bad at it. So, but those guys typically push for a really large deposit, and they come out and they will do some amount of work, and they get the project moving. If you stop and think about, the most labor intensive part of the project is finishing it, not starting it.
Mm.
And so if you already paid them, let's say 75%, and they're 75% of the way through, well, 70% of their efforts are in that last 25%. So now you have an economics question. If you're a contractor, do you go to work 70% of your effort for 25% of your money?
Next.
Yeah, are you just going to take the next one? And yeah, I'll finish it, I'll get to it, but right now I'm busy making money. I'm going to take the next deposit on the next job and move on. This runs specific defense against that. They can't do that. We're only going to give them the money for the stuff that they've done, and it's really nice to have somebody holding the purse strings that's not you, because now you're not in conflict.
You're not the bad
Yeah.
guy.
So
I don't know. Call Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
Call Mike.
Yep.
So
Rini's got your checkbook.
So before they may get materials costs to get the work started in that way, but you let us know when a portion of the work is complete. We send out an inspector. They let us know how much of what is complete, so we know how to pay, what to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful thing. It really is. Nobody gets paid. Do you get paid on Mondays or do you get paid on Fridays? How many people get paid before they start the work? Nobody.
No.
So then why are we okay with paying somebody everything before they start?
It's a great point. Great point. So take it back real quick. If you're using a renovation loan to purchase a property and rehab the property, it's the same loan. Is the down payment here of the total cost of the loan? Okay.
So it is a 3.5 or 3, depending on what program you're using, of the purchase price plus rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And we do look at the appraised value. The property does have to appraise for it. So as long as it is appraising for that cost, we should. It's only 3.5% of the total cost. So purchase price plus rehab.
Okay. And wanted to clarify it is for primary residences.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
assuming. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make that known.
You can.
We actually do offer one for rental properties also, for our property investors that are literally the people that are having to buy them, rehab them out of pocket, and then put them in their portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
We can skip the step where you need to go refinance to get your money back out. So we can do this on a investment property.
They're rental loans for investors.
More down for them.
Yeah.
Okay. They're used to it. They get it.
Yeah.
It's still cheaper than the 20% plus funding the rent out.
Mm-hmm.
So with some of these, you can get away with 15% down,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll pay for all the rent out. So that's pretty solid.
Yeah, it is worth it.
Yeah,
And there also is another type of loan out there that's slightly more quasi-commercial that is really designed for investors. That's called a DSCR.
Yep.
You're familiar. So that stands for debt service coverage ratio. And essentially we'll let you go buy the house, we'll fix it up, the whole thing, kind of exactly what she was describing here. The catch there is you don't even have to have a job. We will look at the house as though it's its own little independent business. Does the business of 123 Main Street make money? So does it have enough rent to cover the mortgage payment? If it has, then you're good. So it makes that for a very interesting option for our professional investors.
Have you seen the frequency or volume of those change at all recently?
Yeah, it's quintupled in the last 5 years.
Interesting.
That world has really, really stepped up its game. I think in our post-COVID lives, when suddenly everybody everywhere wanted to be a landlord, and property appreciation made it very appealing to be a landlord. The market reacts very quickly to the needs. So when everybody called us the royal us, as everybody in the mortgage industry, when our clients called and said, we need to figure out how to buy this house and this house and this house and this house, we're sitting over going, I want to lend to you on that house and that house and that. So honestly, so some of these financial instruments get invented because of supply and demand. It takes a couple of years to really work the cobwebs out and all the kinks of risk mitigation and all that, but once they get them figured out, they become mainstream. And I think that DSCRs in the last 6 to 12 months have really started to gel and become mainstream. They're no longer a fringe product. We have probably 24 companies that allow DSCR loans.
Sweet. I want to do some myth busting in a second, but before that, I remember you, Rini, mentioning that there's a really cool thing with reno loans where you could have your mortgage financed during the renovation.
Yes.
I've never heard of that before.
Okay, so when the property is uninhabitable during construction, you're doing a complete gut and rehab. There's no kitchen, there's no bathroom. It's not livable. And if it's not livable, then you're paying a rent, and then you're also paying a mortgage. So one of the things you can do is you can finance up to 6 months of your mortgage payments, or less if your property doesn't need that, of your mortgage payments into your loan, so that you're not paying for rent and mortgage. So there's a little escrow account with the money, and it'll pay your mortgage until you're ready to switch over and the property's habitable and you can live there and you're not paying rent or mortgage.
That's great. I'd never even thought of that as a pain point.
Yeah.
But then you told me you had this thing, like, wow, this solves a pain point.
Yeah, it does. Well, and there's just a lot of, oh, it's hard, or oh, it's difficult, and oh, it's complicated, and it can be. Then move on to a different contractor.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that is one of the biggest pain. Or it's really important to kind of have an open mind. It does require more work from everyone, but it also has a lot more rewards. I've seen property values increase drastically because of the rental loans. And I've done rental loans across the country. There's a particular state where it is bonkers how much you gain in property value. But Indiana's pretty decent too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to speak from personal experience, we own a little commercial properties, and we bought distressed properties that had significant deferred maintenance and leaking roofs and just ugly. And to go in, renovate them, that's currently our office, and they're absolutely beautiful buildings now. They're amazing, but that investment within 5 years, 7 years has it's worth right at 3 times what we paid for it. So our purchase and renovation. So now granted, some of that's just been a good market. So I'm not that smart. There was a good chunk of lucky in there too.
Yep.
But say that was half wrong and it only doubled in value. It makes it such that you guys, is it some headache? Yes, it is some headache. It is more difficult than just going to the new home showroom and buying a brand new house. Yes, it is more difficult than that. but is it worth it? Absolutely.
Yep.
That's why people do this for a living. That's why there are property flippers. That's why HGTV exists, to talk about flipping houses, because a lot of money and a lot of fun to be had in it. Not to mention the fact that you get to do some creative at the same time and make that place yours.
Yeah. People think custom homes are so expensive, and they can be, but renovation loans are a great way to have a custom home.
Yeah.
Essentially, for a lot cheaper.
And anybody that's listening whose wheels are turning right now about buying distressed properties and everything, I want to throw one more challenge out to you. This isn't for distressed properties. This is for every property. Who you look right now as a realtor, there are houses that are market worn, that are they're ugly. They have a 1970s kitchen, but they're in the right neighborhood. And maybe they have a crappy curb appeal, or the roof's bad, or there's any number of weird stuff that could be happening. You walked in a house that just smells horrible. Like, who died in here?
Yeah.
And so, they show really poorly, but that house isn't awful. Or maybe you have a house that your client just really needs a fourth bedroom. They love the schools, they love this neighborhood, their best friends live across the street. It checks every box, but man, it just doesn't have that extra bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if this house is 6 weeks old. Done. So just call Rini. She can go do this thing as a renovation loan. You can go add the bedroom, build on, do the thing. Maybe you love the place, hate the kitchen. Cool, whatever. And it doesn't have to be a $50,000 renovation. It can be $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's certain thresholds for it, but I would say if you're doing anything more than $7,000-$10,000 worth of work, I would strongly encourage you to look at doing a renovation loan and allowing that to be financed in. Let the house pay for itself. I don't know how many clients over the years are carrying $7,000, $10,000, $20,000 worth of credit card debt at Home Depot and Lowe's.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing that? That 21% interest. Put that in the mortgage and put that debt against the asset that it should be against.
Financing is a great tool. I got my start in sales doing furniture, and I finally got the rich dad, poor dad
Mm-hmm.
mindset when I started realizing it was the wealthiest clients that were financing their furniture, not the people that couldn't afford their furniture. Yeah. That always amazed me and got my wheels thinking about how to leverage debt.
And circling back to down payment assistance programs and all of that, it's not keep as much money in your pocket as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know. It's better. You don't want to be house poor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you want a house, but you don't need to invest every last penny of it.
And then your AC goes out, and then you're
what? Yeah.
living in a house with no AC for 6 months while you save up for it.
Yeah, I may have to have that happened to me last week. Guess how much my AC cost?
35 or up.
$14,000.
What? That's a nice house. It's a nice AC unit.
It was I've been living there for 15 years, so it's a 15-year.
Okay.
It was $14,000.
Jeez.
And so, but that's why it's important to not get rid of every single cash asset that you have to be able to pay towards a down payment. There's nothing wrong with utilizing down payment assistance programs.
Yep, they're a great tool.
Yeah.
I don't have any, but if you had any myths that you wanted to bust, we could do that. Otherwise, we'd start wrapping up.
I feel like there's a lot of, they think it's limited. It's really not. You can do anything you want on a renovation loan as long as the house appraises for it, and talking to somebody who knows what they're doing helps guide your flow a little bit better. So I can advise people with that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that you talk to the correct people who have experience doing. I've been doing renovation loans for over a decade, and before that I was in construction, so I'm happy to help talk anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you've got that value to be able to deliver to home buyers here in the Hoosier State.
Of course.
Mike, before we wrap up, I was curious if you wanted to touch at all about anything in Noblesville. We can cut this if not.
Oh man, Noblesville. It is happening. So we've lived in Noblesville and in downtown for this is 23 years, and it is not the same city that I moved to back then. It is growing leaps and bounds. I will tell you, from my office there on the square, within 6 blocks by the end of 2025 should be around 2,000 new residents within 6 blocks. So the population density is growing massively and quickly. Property appreciation has been nuts. There's actually a house that you can see from our office that I love that story, that we did the mortgage on the house maybe 8-9 years ago, and it was like, I don't know, 270,000. And then we did it again, it was like 360. Then we did it again, it was 440. Like, it's indicative of what's going on. If you really, really love traffic restrictions and paving jobs, it is your jam right now. We are addicted to those. Half of the town is closed for paving something. So what's going on acutely right now, like here's what's going on and then where I think we're going. 37 right now is turning into essentially an interstate, kind of like they've done with Meridian and Keystone with the underpass overpass. So that's going to take 15 years ago what was a 35-40 minute drive to get to downtown. It's going to take that to 12-14 minutes. It's going to get rid of all the stoplights, all the impedance coming out of Noblesville. So that will reduce those barriers to commuting.
Yeah.
So because people can get there easier now, Fishers is full up, they're heading to Noblesville. Noblesville's making it easier to get there. Now people are heading past Noblesville, and we're starting to see urban sprawl really kick up in the northeast sections of Noblesville. Out around Deer Creek Amphitheater, which I know it's got a different name now, but we don't call it that. It's another mortgage company. Anyway.
I was like, what are you talking about? I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
It will always be Deer Creek. So out there's just an amazing amount of growth happening, which up until 18 months ago, that was USDA. You could have bought next door to Deer Creek and still got 100% financing.
Yeah.
Now it's about 2 roads over, so it's still a fantastic place to build and to be out there. But we've had amazing property appreciation as of late. Lots of culture, lots of arts things happening. We have new bike trails that are going everywhere. My wife and I have been enjoying those because it's 3 blocks from my house and I can hit that thing. And right now I can ride it all the way down to Fishers. Here in about, 4 months I'll be able to ride it all the way to Westfield, which will then hook up to the Monon, so we can ride Noblesville to Westfield to Carmel to Fishers and do a loop. And I don't know, tubing on the White River is amazing if you ever get up there and do that. So I know it's in a part of the mayor's plan to really embrace our waterfront and to have more restaurants. I know the city just got a Dora, which is a designated outdoor refreshment area. You ever seen it in like Savannah, Georgia, where you can walk around with a beer in your hand outside that. So for all of our street festivals and everything are amazing. The Peony Festival that just happened about 3 weekends ago, I think within the next couple years is going to be the Indiana State Peony Festival. It is, I've never seen a more crowded Noblesville than that weekend. It was nuts.
I went last year. I can confirm that is the most crowded I've ever been in Indiana.
Yeah, it's impressive. They draw a lot of people for that. So I think that going forward, we are going to see population density in downtown. I think we're going to see a lot of building, a lot of the what I would call depressed neighborhoods, south and west of downtown. There's a new bypass for Pleasant Street that will take major semis, dump trucks out of our downtown, which will make our downtown more walkable. So couple that with 7 new restaurants coming in right now that have already been announced, let alone the ones that are getting ready to be announced. 2,000 people moving in there, hopefully a new performing arts center opening up in the next couple of years. There's a lot of really fun going on in Noblesville.
Yeah.
Unbiased, I'm partial to it. We live in a really funky mid-century modern that's just a couple blocks away from downtown. We just, prior to that, we were restored in 1929 Sears catalog house right on the main drag. So I love history. I love that small town. I grew up in a cornfield, so out around Muncie, Indiana. And so moving to the big city wasn't quite my jam, and Noblesville really felt like Mayberry when we moved there. So it'd be really easy for a town to lose their identity as they grow, and I think Noblesville's done a great job at embracing the history and keeping that small town vibe while they're simultaneously embracing the future.
Mm-hmm.
So, new rail bikes. Get up there and go do that. That's awesome.
What's that?
They just opened it maybe 2 weekends ago, and so we went and did this on its opening day. But they're 4-person. It's a quad bicycle that rides on the train tracks.
Huh.
And so it gets on the old Monon line, and so you nickel plate line. So you hop on there and ride north towards Cicero, and it's just fun. Right out and through the country in the middle of nowhere, and they stop traffic for you. And you cross the couple of roads, the little country roads out there. But
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. You should check it out.
I think I'm from Zionsville. I think we're in an interesting spot in Zionsville. Our population is definitely not the same as our peers, but our influence, I would say, is similar. So we're in a weird spot where we need to become a little bit more like our peers. I feel like Noblesville is a good one for us to learn from. We're not Carmel, although we try to be as hard as we can. And we're not Fishers because we have telephone lines everywhere. So we have too much. But I think Noblesville's got the cultural fit pretty similar to Zionsville. The heritage is very important, small town feel.
Zionsville's done a great job at leaning into the village. And it really sets it apart. Because that you can't reproduce history.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing that everybody has such a visceral reaction to downtown Carmel is that it's all brand new and it feels like a Disneyland version of history.
Yep.
That's true.
And,
That's a good way of putting it.
But it's got no soul yet. I think it will. I think ultimately it will as buildings get patina and as things start to gain a little bit of like rough and tumble to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right now they're just a little too Stepford wives.
Mm-hmm.
But Zionsville does a great job at embracing that history while looking forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Noblesville's on the right track with that. Westfield's, they're doing a bang up job with what they've got. Started with nothing, like literal nothing. They were an intersection. That's not even a town. And so they're leaning into this creation of a new downtown with a park and all this stuff. But it's gonna be a riff on Carmel in that it's all synthesized. It's all artificial. Nothing grew organically. And you go look through downtown Zionsville or downtown Noblesville. There's some buildings that are dumb. They're dumb. They're ugly. They don't make any sense. It's because that one burned down and they just put a cinder block one up because it was the 70s and nobody cared. And when you go to Carmel, it's like everything is just perfect and it's set up just right. It's just so. And we need somebody to give it a little black eye and a couple scars and a crooked tooth. Then it'll fit right in.
I think it does good for what it's intended to be. Carmel wants to be the city where young people live and build their families and move out of. That's what they want to be.
Right.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I don't know if you've looked into it, but the South Village plans for Zionsville, I think you'd be interested in.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They're on the website, so south of Main Street, they're planning to do. This has been a decade long of them wanting to do it. It's finally, I think, getting towards the tail end of approval. But to make Zionsville's downtown extended and a little bit more like Carmel's.
Yeah, nice.
I think that's been why it hasn't been approved, is Zionsville doesn't want to be like Carmel, but they know they need the metropolitan area features like Carmel.
Yeah.
So how to do it in your own unique way.
People love to hate on Carmel, but you can't argue with what they've built.
Yep.
And it is a fantastic place to live.
They're international magazines. They
yeah.
do things right.
I mean, Jim Brainerd he's like him or not on the politics side and on the debt side and all that stuff, but man, what he's put together is an amazing community.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And those schools are amazing too.
Mm-hmm.
My husband went to Carmel, and so he cannot stop.
Like literally some of the best schools in America.
Yeah,
and they're here in our backyard.
Mm-hmm. And they're massive.
Yeah.
They're massive schools.
Yeah.
I think they have an Olympic-sized pool.
Yeah.
I think there are TikToks on it.
Yeah, have you
actually,
seen the viral
bragging
video about that?
I haven't. No.
bragging about Carmel.
Just go look at it.
Carmel pool.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
It's pretty nice.
Well, I don't have anything else for you guys. Like I told you when you got here, I need you to give me 3 spots in and around Indianapolis that you enjoy visiting.
Rini.
Well, I would say come to Parker Mortgage. Come see us.
Of course, of course.
We have a wonderful bourbon bar.
We have about
And-
740 bourbons in the bar in the office right now.
Yeah, and we're all really friendly and fun.
And we have an office dog.
Yeah, and we have a compet Millie.
Yeah, Parker was actually our old English sheepdog, so we named the company after Parker.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
come to Parker Mortgage, come see us, come see me. Second would be Turkey Run. It's an amazing park. You can take a little basket of picnic and have a little picnic there. You can hike. You can do the tubing. If that's what there are snakes there. Fair warning.
That's the thing.
Yeah, there are snakes in the water, but you can do it.
Yeah.
And then I live in Fisher, so I'm going to plug the well.
I actually heard about that for the first time probably an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, they have really amazing matcha, so next time we should meet there.
Yeah.
And the little conference room you can book and there's a little barn door and close it off.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Their matchas they have seasonal coffees. Some of them are really, like, all of them are good actually, but some of them I will purposely have more meetings.
Stay up and think about.
Well, I'm like, oh, I should meet them there so I can have this coffee.
Those are good thoughts to have.
Yeah. So those are my 3 spots.
Nice. All right, mine is going to be Mama's, the Korean place. You ever been?
No.
It's an institution at this point. It's been around for 25, 30 years, maybe more. I don't know. Fantastic, authentic Korean. I just got back from Seoul, and so this has been my go-to Korean restaurant for years. And I went there, and I was excited to experience real Korean food. No, it's spot on. It's exactly what I had at Mama's.
That's awesome.
So, and it's a dive. It's over on Pendleton Pike, and not in a great neighborhood, and it's just in a strip mall. And if you drove by it, you'd be rolling your eyes, like, Mike, what are you thinking? That place sucks. Go there. It's fantastic. Number 2 is I will plug Primeval Brewing, microbrewery in downtown Noblesville. May or may not be our downstairs tenant from our office, but those guys just won the best brewery in the state of Indiana at the state fair last year. They won the Brewers Home Brewers Olympics multiple times. These guys do legitimate beers. I'm not an IPA fan. I hate those things. Their IPA is even awesome. But the building was built as a car dealership in 1909. And when we pulled the plaster off the walls to turn it into like cool, trendy brick walls for them, we found the original dealership billboard for Maxwell Motor Cars. So come check it out if nothing for the history.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Their beers are legit. And then number 3 is Page's Music. I'm a musician, and so there's a friend of mine is president of Page's, and that place is fascinating. One of the largest high school band and school band equipment dealers in the world, and they're right here in Fishers, and they just massively expanded and moved to a new headquarters and all this, and it's really neat to see. Yeah, have you ever heard of Page's Music?
No.
Have you ever heard of Page's Music?
I rented my saxophone from them in middle school.
A lot of people have never even heard of it, and to find out that this thing is massive and the scale that it's on and everything, and is so much fun. And I love businesses that are local, homegrown like that around here that have such a big reach and impact. So good on those guys for doing a great job.
That's a good segue into my number 1, but thank you guys for providing yours. I think it's always great to just hear where people like to enjoy around the city. It's always hard for me. I got to come up with new ones. I think I've already done this one, but going to do it again. I just did a restaurant review for the first time, and it was this restaurant, Cafe Patachu. I love.
Which one?
So this time I went to the Zionsville location, which had become my favorite one. I always went to the one on Pennsylvania and Broad Ripple before, but I live in Zionsville, so once Patachu got there, I checked it out. And the only thing that I had ever eaten up until that point at Patachu was the Cuban breakfast. And they made it slightly different at the Zionsville location, and they now make it that way across all of the locations because it was better. So now I can go anywhere because the Cuban breakfast is spot on wherever I go.
So what's in the Cuban breakfast?
It's like rice, black beans. There's a pesto jalapeno salsa that they put on it. That was the new addition that they didn't have previously.
Yeah.
Avocado, and sometimes they have different hot sauces, but if you know Patachu, you know all they ever carry is, sriracha? I hate sriracha. I can't stand it, so I had to bring my own. It's spicy ketchup.
Yeah.
So I had to bring my own hot sauce. But other than that, everything is wonderful about Patachu. It's self-serve coffee. They've got great orange juice. Their coffee that they do make is like a really robust roast that I enjoy the flavor of. Last time I was there doing the food review, the deputy mayor of Zionsville was there. So it's one of those spots where you can go and always meet somebody.
I'd love to add that they also have a vegan Cuban breakfast.
Ah.
And I've had that, and it's delicious.
Because
So
there is eggs.
All my vegetarian people out there, you can get the vegan.
Because there is eggs in the normal one. That's
yeah.
right. That's right. I got I have switched it up. I've gotten 3 different items now, or 4 total.
Oh, wow.
I got the BLT a couple of weeks ago. I got the ricotta pesto toast.
Yum.
Oh, amazing. And then I just got a chicken salad sandwich last time. It was really basic, but it was for the food review. I was like, I'm going to get something basic for it. And I loved it.
Cafe Patachu, if you're listening, bring back the chickpea salad sandwich. I miss it.
There you go. I hope somebody's there. Last thing about Patachu, there was Inner City Foundation to help educate youth on how to help their lives on a different trajectory. They are farm to table, so that's why I love them. But anyway, second spot to highlight today. Haven't been yet this year, but it's on my mind. Victory Field. Indians games are an amazing time. I know we're just getting the bubble of the news of maybe an MLS team here, but come on, where's the MLB team? I think Indiana would do very well with the MLB team here. I'm not a huge baseball fan or anything, but baseball games are great to go to, and the Indians do a great job of hosting a good event.
Do you ever sit in this the little box seats down the third base line?
I have once, yeah.
Those are the best
They're
because
fun.
you get drink credits. You have a waiter that comes to your table, brings you beer, so you don't have to get up for it. It's fantastic.
Nice.
That's great. And then, again, haven't been there yet this year, but it's on my mind because I want to because the summer's here. Tibbs Drive-In. I think it's a little underrated. There's not a ton of drive-ins around here, so your availability is limited. But Tibbs has so many screens. They're open till like 3 a.m. sometimes. I've been there and watched 6 movies straight before, just having a great night. It's a good time. You never know what you're going to be able to enjoy there. There's going to be people messing around you, but it's city life drive-in, and I've always enjoyed my time there.
My first experience with a drive-in, my aunt brought a little picnic basket. As you can tell, I'm a picnic girl. So anything we can turn into a picnic,
You're in.
I'm in.
You got it. Anything you guys that's on your mind that you want to share before we get out of here?
It's got to be a picnic podcast.
We'll do it.
We should do it.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks
That's
for having
it.
us.